We are at Sketchbook in Skokie, the home, the site of Pravda Fest, celebrating 38 years of Pravda Records. I'm joined by 3/5 of the Handcuffs and Pravda Records. Pravda 38, the beer, will be available at Pravda Fest at the end of the month. Handcuffs will be available at the end of the month for your consumption.
And it says so right there. It's got all the bands listed on the
Yeah,
Which is
all the
cool.
bands
You
are
made a
around
beer
the-
can. This
This
is
is amazing.
you've clearly arrived. So the
very
new
exciting.
Handcuffs album, you know, we can see you play these new songs at Pravda Fest at Sketchbook on Main Street in Skokie at the end of June. The new Handcuffs album is called Burn the Rails. Is there a more Chicago album title in the history of music?
We're
No.
glad you noticed that.
Thank you.
Thank you
No,
for
next
noticing.
question. No.
It's a pretty Chicago title, and
well,
we're
we
glad
were
that
gonna
you
name it
noticed.
Sweet Home Chicago, but
No,
That was
we were
taken.
not
we were
that kind of
never
band,
going
so
to name
we're
it
back
that.
to Burn the Rails.
So explain, and the cover matches, it's exactly what the album title is. For people who aren't as familiar with what Burn the Rails is, I mean, I'm sure there's a metaphor there as well, but the literal translation is the album art. Explain Burn the Rails.
I feel like our
Referencey?
expert referencey
Yes,
person should.
I'm a reference librarian, my other hat, so I'm often given the hard questions.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the way of clearing the snow and ice off the rails at the Metra during the winter times. Can't run the railroad if you're not, if the rails aren't clear,
set
so
'em
you've
on
got to burn
fire.
them off.
Right, so they
Set 'em on
set
fire.
them
So
on
they set
fire
them
when
on
it's
fire.
very, very cold.
And
Yeah.
I've seen this. It looks like
It's-
something.
It looks very eerie.
It looks
yeah.
like something that shouldn't be happening.
Looks
Right.
apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, yeah.
Looks
Which
like
is
you
why
stumbled
we
into
named
something.
our album Burn the Rails.
Yes. So, all right, Handcuffs, Burn the Rails, the new album. Let's talk about the metaphor. This is your first release coming out of the pandemic. Is Burn the Rails a summary of what we've experienced over the past couple of years?
I would say yes. It was a lot of work. We've gone through some trials and tribulations, and of course, everyone has gone through the pandemic. So it relates to everyone having to put a lot of extra effort into whatever they do, whether they're a parent or an artist or they make beer. The pandemic sort of held up everything for everybody, and you kind of had to work a little harder to sort of make your life happen.
The album is really fun, and we're recording this on the 31st of May. It comes out this Friday. I listen to the album, I hear elements of Roxy Music. I hear Blondie. I hear Ian Hunter. And I thought as I was listening that I was making some grand observation, some revelation, and then I read your press release afterward. I'm like, no, that was all really obvious, and I would have been wrong not to pick up on those hints. And I don't want to use the word influences, but influences.
You are correct, James.
I've listened to you from the start. I think this is your best album, and I don't want to.
Oh, thank you.
I don't want to,
That's
This is
wonderful.
our
Just-
best fourth album.
No, I agree.
And
It's
not
my
at the-
favorite. You're not supposed to pick favorites of your children, but it's my favorite child.
Yeah.
I mean, not at the
That's
expense
so
of your
nice.
previous releases, but something is clearly different on this album.
It's the first album that I play on every track.
Yeah.
So I
There
can
it
take
is.
full credit. for it.
I'm giving you
This
100%
is Allison
credit.
Hinderleiter, by the way, keyboard player. Assisted by Morgan Fisher. We can talk about that a little bit
we'll
later.
talk- yeah.
But no, I
It's like the first album where we've had our core complete band that we've finally found as the band family, so to speak. And we're all, and it's and I mean I think there's a lot of really good things about it because of who is on it, which is our favorite people, I guess. You know, we all really like each other.
and
I think-
recorded by
yeah,
one of our favorite people
exactly.
too,
Yes.
and that is
Mike
Hagler.
Hagler.
Jinx.
he's a delight. The album does sound better than anything you've ever done, and you already sounded really good. So
Thank you. That's nice.
Let's start with the first song on the album, which parallels on the last song on the album. You open and close with instrumentals
Yes.
on the album. You kind of like set the stage and you kind of go out the same way. Thematically, what was the thought behind that concept?
That's that Brainiac's idea.
Brad Elvis.
Well, there wasn't really any plan to it. They were just songs in the beginning, but when it came time to sequencing, it just kind of fell together that way. It made sense, and I start my day off with grapefruit, so why not an album?
Right.
That's the name of the first song.
Right, Grapefruit.
And then, before I go to bed, I always try to get a little tobogganing in. And,
Tobogganing is how the album ends. Love Me While You Can comes out of Grapefruit. There's a video that just came out, which features some onstage footage. The lead guitar on this one has this cool 70s sexy vibe to it. And your delivery, Chloe Orwell, it's all swagger on this one.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And cool piano on this song, too. Like, instrumentally, I think...
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got to give props to our guitarist, Jeff Kamisiak. He is really
this wall
fantastic.
Is like what his
what
amps.
we drank the whole
Oh, no.
time we were recording.
It helped.
Yeah,
a little
props
bit.
to Jeff for that sexy, amazing Mick Ronson-esque
Yes.
guitar.
Yeah.
Also, Emily Togney, who cannot be here with us, who is our bassist. That song, I think, is a really good example of what we sound like, and it's a really good example of what we want to portray as a band.
Yeah, it really kind of gelled.
Yeah.
The whole sound gelled in the recording studio, and very happy with it.
A couple other guitar moments on this, and we'll move past this
Sure.
since we can't actually talk to the guitarist. But I cry.
Well, there's one of us, but we'll see.
the,
Right,
the screaming lead guitar and I
right.
cry
It's
for
not
you.
me. That is not me.
that is a moment, and I cry for
Oh,
you.
yeah.
And then on
Yeah.
Big Fat Mouth Shut, this glammy sounding guitar. I mean, there are great little moments and
Yeah.
pockets throughout.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Nice showcases for that.
Yeah, it was perfection. I mean, most of that stuff is like one take. He just did it. He was like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you think I should do it again? And we'd be like, no, you shouldn't do it again. It was amazing. When, if we do it as an
Really
overdub.
fit the song
Yeah.
so well, the solos.
Yeah.
It's not like you
Yeah.
deedly around or anything. It was really like fit the song, each one, solos. Like I Cry For You. It's like, it was like
He's like crying.
It was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
that whole kind of vibe.
Literal.
Yeah, super creative.
Big Fat Mouth Shut, I mentioned that. There's this moment, Chloe, you say, why don't you keep your big fat mouth shut? It's spoken over the drums. I love your delivery is just awesome throughout this album.
Thank you.
Where does this song come from? I mean, this sounds venomous.
Well,
What's when we're at home together?
it's usually what I say to Brad
Sure.
when he tells me to do something. No, we're married, by the way. Hi, we're married.
and always tells
No, so no, whatever. So this song is, I mean, it's sort of has a double meaning. It's about, we all know that person who won't stop talking and says things that are ridiculous, and you just want to tell them to keep their big fat mouth shut. And then there's a few little hints to possibly some of the political climate and what's been going on maybe the past, what was it, like 6 years? And if you listen to some of the words, it's sort of like, please shut up about all the misinformation that's happening.
It's hard not, as an artist, to
Yeah.
have some kind of comment or response to all this.
Yeah, and
everything going on.
and I think that's sort of a lost art. I think back in the 60s and probably to some extent the 70s, there was a lot of that with artists sort of having some commentary that was relevant to what was going on socially, and nobody's really doing that anymore. And not that we're doing that on purpose. I mean, we make music because we love it and we want to write songs, but I think we owe it to people to also have them think about what is going on and how we can do things for the greater good.
My favorite song on the album, I mean, if I had to choose one,
Yes.
which is not easy. Again, the new album, we're in the rails. Not easy to pick just one song. Let's Name Our Children is the standout for me.
It's a nice story.
That's a great one.
Let's hear the story.
Go ahead, Brad.
Well, I was at the grocery store one day. Okay, I will
Is that
be
for real?
serious, I promise.
No.
No, I read that after David Bowie passed away, I read that a little story about when he met Iman, and he said he saw her across the room they were at some party event thing, and he was like, and he went up and talked to her, and he said within like seconds he was like, let's name our children.
I never heard that story.
And then they dated, got married,
Had a child.
and all that. So anyway, I thought that was really beautiful, and I thought I would write a song around that. And it ended up kind of turning out more almost of a Paul and Linda kind of a sounding, McCartney-ish kind of a sound, which also is fitting. We'll have a garden with big floppy hats and some of the lyrics.
Sort of an Our House kind of thing too, maybe a Graham and Joni.
That's what sparked the whole thing. So
I love it.
It's sort of I loved when he actually told me about that idea about the Bowie and Iman thing. I thought that was a beautiful story, and I love that he sort of wanted to write a song about someone else's love story, which I thought was kind of neat. What a
neat.
rock and roll word.
How swell. How swell that was.
Can we talk about the organ sounds on Pretty Pretty?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yes. That started with my Juno D, and I had a certain patch called Purple.
We all know what that means.
And, yeah, so I fell in love with the purple sound. And we recorded with that purple, but then we also backed it up with a Hammond B3 in King Size Studios. So it's double organ.
with a big old Leslie.
Yeah.
With a big old Leslie.
Grinding it out.
So yeah, it's a crunchy, delicious sound.
It is
It's one of my
crunchy and
favorite,
delicious.
one
Kinda
of favorite
Deep
keyboardy
Purple
sounds.
meets Vanilla Fudge.
Yeah.
We just got another great review today, and someone mentioned, he said they thought it sounded like Argent.
Oh,
Yeah,
They kinda
yeah.
have
I thought that was kind of
Oh.
cool
So
too.
it's from that
when I read
era, that
Nice.
that
Yeah.
vibe,
Yeah.
So
I love it. There are so many sounds, textures that feel comfortable and familiar on the album. And I think just name dropping artists like Roxy Music and Ian Hunter, I made that point already. The Ballad of Fritz and Zoom feels almost proggy out of the gate. It seems almost like an outlier on the album.
I don't
Because
think
it's in
of it
5.
I don't think
I
of
mean,
it.
because it's in 5, that might be part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I don't think of it as proggy. I was originally, when I was putting things together, part of it, I was thinking of Zeppelin.
But you did bring in strings.
Yeah, and we
and
sort of
there's-
brought, and the timing
Well, they would do
is
Yeah.
proggy.
They,
Yeah.
as
We're
from
like
about
arguing with him about.
I am. No, well, from like the third album on Led Zeppelin, they started getting weirder and weirder, where they almost kind of got proggy, where they're
Yeah.
those weird time signatures and all that stuff. But anyway, it's kind of a heavy, cool riff.
I'm okay with it being proggy, quite frankly. So.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm a huge
totally fine with
fan
it.
of Yes and ELP.
Yeah.
Yes.
How can you
Yes.
be a keyboardist and not
Right.
love
Progresso.
Rick Wakeman
Oh, yeah.
and Keith Emerson?
Back to current events, the end of the party. Is that
A
addressing-
bit, yeah. It's got some, yeah. I mean, it probably didn't start out that way, but it ended up that way.
It's the end of the party.
it-
The kooks are on the run. It's
Yep.
the end of the party. We're confetti from a gun.
Yeah.
Bang bang.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
And again, it wraps up with tobogganing, which growing up in the Midwest, you're no stranger to enjoying the snow and sledding and.
Well,
And
we
there-
used to.
And there's not very
Right.
many places to go skiing, so we decided we wanted to do tobogganing.
Toboggan.
Ing.
Because the handcuffs are wholesome
Right.
and fun and
Right.
delightful. Again, the new album Burn the Rails out on Friday, Friday the 3rd.
Yes.
Third, yes.
Yes.
On
June
Pravda
3rd,
Records.
I thought it was
2022.
No, it's Friday the 3rd.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I've been telling everybody Thursday the 3rd.
Whatever.
There goes the sales. Sorry, Ken.
This week. And you can see the handcuffs at Pravda Fest at the end of the month.
Yes.
2 nights of Pravda Records. It's the 38th anniversary. Everyone knows the 30th anniversary is the important one to celebrate. That's why we're doing this at Sketchbook.
Special year.
It's a
Yeah.
special year.
38.
38.
You know what I learned when I interviewed the brain
I'm
trust of
almost there.
Pravda?
Yes.
The anniversary gift for 38th, luck. That's what you give.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's actually lovely.
So I
have to
got
use
Ken
some-
Goodman from Pravda a pair of dice.
I love that. I'm gonna have to get him a horseshoe.
Yeah.
I'll
I'll get him a 4-leaf clover.
I
I gave
also
him 2
wanna-
tickets
to Paradise.
to Paradise.
I also want to say we are playing Saturday. It starts at 7, and the Friday night show also starts at 7 with Boom Hank. Both shows are going to be great. Do not be late, Steve Mendel. I'm kidding. Also, James Van Osdol is a Chicago and national treasure.
National.
So
Yes.
thank you. No, you are really
We were in Iowa and people knew who you were.
you are a joy to be around. So thank you
Yes.
for this so
Thank
much.
you.
Well, I'm not even done.
Oh, all right.
I'm done talking about the album. Like I needed my notes for that, but I could talk to you about all the other shit.
Okay, let's talk about the
Well,
other
I'll
stuff.
say it again at the end.
Well, thank you.
Now the second album.
Well, let's talk since we're here talking about Pravda,
Yeah.
Pravda 38, Pravda Fest. let's talk about Pravda Records.
At Sketchbook
let's-
Brewing.
When you
Yes.
started recording for Pravda, like, what does Pravda mean? What does that footprint mean to you?
Well,
Pretend that Ken's not in the room.
I've known Kenny.
Put your shirt back on.
I've known Kenny for the years, and
Since high school.
he's a really, really good person. He's
good
like
man.
family to me in a way, and we've always kind of wanted to work together, but it's hard when you're such good friends. But I feel like after this pandemic and everything that everyone's gone through, and there's been a lot of sadness that we've all dealt with, that we thought, you know what, I don't want to go through life without working with people I really, really love and really like and really respect. And if I'm going to be successful, I want them to be successful. And so I think that sort of changed, at least for me, that changed things for me. And I'm really glad that Ken wanted to put the record out, because it's a good record and he's a good person. And what more could you want?
So sweet.
But seriously, I'm
Yeah,
serious about the
no, I
pandemic. There
know.
was so
I
much
get it.
sadness and so much
Yeah.
tragedy and just a lot of really hard times. And it just occurred to me, you have to do things that you love
Yeah.
with people you love.
You really,
know?
it really changes your perspective.
It does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought it was a good match, and it's been kind of great so far. I hope
Yeah.
the honeymoon never ends.
Well, I moved to Chicago in 1989, and it seems like Pravda was always part of the scene. So, seeing the Slugs, seeing the Service,
Oh, yeah.
seeing, collecting the Caterer Explosive Hits records, which I absolutely love.
Those are awesome.
Going to the store, seeing Jillian on Southport at the Pravda store. It was just all part of my sort of becoming a Chicagoan.
Yeah.
So it's
that's a
really nice.
That's a
to have
really
it.
cool thing to say, because
To have
it's
that deep
true.
connection.
It is very Chicago. It's very, like, I used to live not far from that store on Southport.
Yeah,
And I kind
me
of was like,
too.
oh, the record store's in my neighborhood.
Yep.
You know? Yeah, I love that. What about you?
Well, when I came here from the old country, I didn't really know much about Pravda, but now I do. Thank you very much.
Handcuffs are obviously students of rock and roll.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know it all.
Yeah.
You've seen it all. You're fans of music. That's obvious. Is it just me? Are we long overdue for a huge rock rebound resurgence? I feel like, from a popular culture perspective, like, we're due, right, for guitar music
hope
to swing
so.
back around.
I really hope so.
I hope so too.
I
Yes.
would love to
And-
hear more rock bands.
One of the recent reviews we got, the headline was, "This is the band that will save rock and roll," which was really nice, because I mean,
No pressure.
you know, it's like we're just this little band from Chicago, but yeah, I feel like it's just
I think
there's
it's, this band could be, this band could save rock and roll. Not
something
that they
like-
will be the band.
something like that.
But we were like, awesome.
Right,
Because with
and-
this album, we really wanted to bring the rock
And
back.
I feel
you
like
know?
it also, again, not to keep bringing up this pandemic, but what we all went through, we almost need something that's like, we need this catharsis, which I think rock and roll kind of
Yeah.
gives you. Loud guitar, turning it up to 11, you know.
Well, I use the word swagger to describe some of your delivery, Chloe. I mean,
Thank you.
I think swagger is needed too.
Yeah, I
Right?
think so. Yeah, and
A little
you
bit of attitude, a little
and
bit
you
of
kind of like, you know, why don't you keep your big fat mouth shut? Like, it's time to let people know what's going on and to not
Why
be shy
can't we
about
go
it.
tobogganing?
Let's name our children.
grapefruit?
Yeah.
Right.
Grapefruit for everyone. Unless you're on blood pressure medicine, then you can't.
38 years of Pravda Records, Pravda 38. You can drink it at Pravda Fest. Handcuffs playing on Saturday night. That whole weekend, must-see shows. You've got Hushdrops, you've got Josh Caterer, Boom Hank, The Service, Diplomats of Solid Sound. Who am I forgetting?
The Slugs.
The
Smashing
Slugs.
Did I forget the Slugs?
The Slugs. And Steve Dawson. Oh, yes,
my
Steve
God, Steve
Dawson.
Dawson.
Yes.
that right there, that's a
Incredible.
weekend.
I mean,
Yeah. That
to
is
not go both
jam-packed.
nights is, I'm sorry, it's stupid. You should go both nights.
If
Yeah.
you don't go both nights, you clearly hate
There's
yourself.
like no, I know, there's no, I mean,
Right.
it's like the best music
Yeah.
of the year.
And there's so many bands that are going to be drinking so much of that beer.
Yeah.
That
One night
you
you
better
could
get here
try
early.
Pravda
At
beer.
7 o'clock.
Another night you could try another beer.
Right, from Sketchbook, yeah.
You know, Handcuffs, the kids would describe this as crushable.
I get
So
it.
if you come to Pravda Fest, enjoy a crushable Pravda 38.
Crush it with one hand.
All right, Handcuffs. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, James.